I followed every piece of career advice on the internet: rewrite your headline, optimize for ATS, send cold DMs, build a personal brand, network up, apply to 100 jobs a day. I did all of it and I still got rejections. Of course, auto rejections, but I still got a lot of rejections. This video is not about how that advice is wrong. This video is about why that advice works for some people while it completely fails for others. There's a gap that nobody wants to talk about. It's kind of like the elephant in the room, but everybody is avoiding it. Well, but if you see it, you can't unsee it, and we're gonna talk about it. Let me walk you through the standard career advice playbook. Step 1, optimize your LinkedIn profile, keywords, headline, banner image, your introduction, your about section, your whatever headline, profile picture. Step 2, tailor your resume for applicant tracking systems, ATS systems, keyword match, format correctly. Step 3, send cold DMs to hiring managers, personalize them, follow up, know when their dog peed, know everything and add all of that in the details. Step 4, build a personal brand, post content, do thought leadership. Step 5, network with senior professionals, get mentors, ask for advice. I'm not going to tell you all this advice is wrong because it's not wrong. It works for some people. And here's where the gap that I was talking about actually comes in. Most people giving this advice might have had something that you might not have. Access. Let me break down what I mean by access. For example, if someone's telling you to send cold DMs, when someone from a recognizable company name in their headline is sending a cold DM, the response rate is much different than someone without any company name on their profile. For example, cold outreach from a Stanford grad and maybe a Google internship on their resume or LinkedIn, it's different than cold outreach from someone who went to a state school and has never worked at any company, has no internship, but has more knowledge than the person who's worked for Google. The advice is the same, but the results are not the same. For example, if your parents' friends are executives, if they've worked in an adjacent industry or in the same industry, you have warm introductions to senior professionals. If your parents have not worked in the industry and you don't really know anybody and you're totally the first in your generation, you're first in your family to even step into a field, DMing strangers is literally you being a salesperson in a company. Like if you are a salesperson in a company, you would be doing cold DMs and cold calls all day long. That would be your entire job. Next advice, build a personal brand. 70% of employers check social media and 47% say if they can't find you online, they are less likely to call you. But here's the thing, the people who can afford to be on these platforms, posting every single day, having thought leadership, and just having a content calendar, they are the people who aren't desperately searching for a job. These are people who might already have a job and just looking to jump. These are people that have years of experience that they can actually post thought leadership about and showcase their success. Like, I ran this marketing campaign and made my company $1 million. I went to this school and I was the top performing person there. What about the people who are trying, who have the knowledge, but don't really know what to do with it? Because most of the platforms right now are optimized for people with something to say, because every single platform's goal is to keep you on it, right? Like they don't want you to leave the platform. The way to do that is to make sure they're providing you with a content that looks interesting to you, that they think everyone else is liking, so you might like it too, which means if you're the creator, you have to produce content that's interesting to someone else. The way the platform will learn that this content is interesting to someone else is if people are engaging with the content. The way to get people to engage with your content, you have to actually become a content writing person. Let's say you're an electrical engineer. Why the fuck would you want to sit down and write content? But here's the thing, the people who can afford to post constantly and to literally have a content calendar in order to stand out. Imagine you're in a room full of 1,000 people and you're the only person who really needs a job, but you're competing with the thousands of people in that room when all of them already have a job and all you have to do is shout, but then nobody can hear you because everyone else is screaming louder than you. That is how it feels like to be on these platforms. And the real part about this is when you're applying to 50 plus jobs per day, you don't have time to sit and build a content calendar. I personally went through this when I was building my personal brand and also job hunting and also working part-time and also filming content and also trying to take care of myself and stay alive. The burnout is real because you're trying to be out there, trying to prove that you know things. You just need someone to take a chance on you. But the problem is there are formats to each platforms. There's a way you show up. There's a way you show up on YouTube. There's a way you show up on Instagram. There's a way you show up on LinkedIn. And to optimize for each and every one of those things when you're literally just trying to pay rent is on a whole other level of stress. This kind of advice of building a personal brand assumes that you have resources like everyone else and access to everything else like other people do. I'm not shitting on people who give advice about building a personal brand. You should absolutely do it. But that's a slow process that compounds over time. If you're in school and you have classes every day, you can come back and post on Instagram, post on TikTok, post on LinkedIn and talk about, here are the things I learned. That's a long game. You're playing the long game there. If you're straight out of school, if you have like 1 to 3 years or 4 years of experience, the chances that you have time to sit and talk about or remind yourself about everything that you know, and there's hook, there's takeaway, there's call to action. There are so many different formats that you have to follow in order to get someone to watch your content. I personally feel like that's a lot of work for someone who's just trying to survive. The second gap, I started grad school in 2022 and ChatGPT did not really exist at the time. By the time I finished my second and final semester, it was everywhere. I remember my friends were making up their resumes using ChatGPT and I found that to be really shocking. I didn't know you could do that. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like you're using the keywords that ChatGPT is giving you. For some reason, that didn't feel right to me. I didn't do that. Big mistake. And by the time I landed my first job, I started seeing like trainings happening on how to use that specific, for example, ChatGPT to be a better analyst, to be a better marketer, to be a better job searching person. But the point here is 7 to 8 months in, things changed so quickly. The career advice you're getting right now was probably written based on what worked in 2021 or 2022. Cold DM response rates have dropped from 7% to 5%. Even salespeople are having a hard time getting a response. Applications needed per job have tripled. LinkedIn engagement is up 44%, but so is saturation. LinkedIn used to be the platform where only business people with real thoughts, like in leadership positions, used to talk about what they see coming, like predictions and what they've learned from their experiences. But now it's become a place where everybody's talking about everything. Actors and actresses are coming on LinkedIn. It's become another social media. This is not to shit on any platform. This is to say that if you are early in your career, you are going to feel invisible in most cases, unless you have like a specific skill set that the market really, really needs. The advice that a lot of creators in the career advice market give you is to grow their business, right? They're helping you, but they're also growing their business. It is a standard: polish your LinkedIn profile, add a banner image, put a headline, add keywords, make sure that recruiters can reach you. A lot of recruiters don't look at your LinkedIn. They don't unless they have to. One of the biggest things I've learned through my job hunt, which obviously consisted of a lot of auto rejection and not personally like, we saw your resume, I fucking hate you. It was not like that. At the same time, it made me very curious about the business side of how recruiting actually happens. If I were a founder, how would I do it? What does the business look like? When do they hire? When do they not hire? What are they, as a company, how are they doing financially? Are they in a place to hire someone? How quickly do I assume that they're going to lay people off? These are things that we don't have to understand, but it's good to know, because I made the mistake of not looking at companies' financials, not knowing the culture, not knowing things, which really put me in a bad spot in my career. And I think it's very important for us to understand that before we reach out to someone. For example, just because you know one company that has a big name doesn't mean they're going to keep you for long enough. Because if the team doesn't need you, chances are you're going to get fired 3 months in. Got off point, but what I'm trying to say here is by the time the advice becomes mainstream enough for influencers to share it, it's already losing its edge. The people who are succeeding aren't following playbooks. They're adapting faster than playbooks can update themselves. So what actually works? I have spent 2 years trying to figure this out for myself. I've tried everything, getting rejected, starting over, starting a personal brand, starting a podcast, going on podcasts, doing guest lectures, doing everything. I've done literally everything they tell you in the playbook. I've done all of that. But here are the valuable lessons that I learned. Number 1, peer networks beat hierarchical networks. MIT studied 20 million LinkedIn users, and what they found was your acquaintances, the weak ties they call, are the most valuable for your job mobility than your close friends or your senior mentors. Not to say that senior mentors can't help you. What I'm saying is when you're looking at chances, the chances are peers are going to help you much better, because the person 2 years ahead of you would know the current market, would understand. If I look at someone 2 years, in grad school right now, starting grad school, I would know exactly what to tell them. I've gone back to my grad school on panels and we give them the most realistic advice. We don't tell them things like, oh, you'll be fine, just apply to jobs. We actually tell them the reality is this. The reality is market looks like this. You can do X, Y, and Z. This is going to give you the best shot at getting a job. And another reason is because they have connections at your level and they remember what it's actually like. The CEO who applied for an entry-level job 25 years ago, their advice is well-meaning, but it's a completely different game. And advice from a recruiter can be useful, but a recruiter from one company to another is so different. If I were to ask a recruiter from Google to give me advice on how they look at recruiting, I could go to a startup person who's recruiting people and ask them for advice. They would give me a completely different advice, because for each stages of company, for where the company is at financially, people-wise, everything else depends on the decisions they're making. Number 2, visibility beats perfection. I'm not by any means, shape, or form saying don't talk about what you're learning, who you're talking to, what you know, what you want to do. All of that is important. 68% of content creators make less than $1,000 a year, which means you don't need to be a content creator, you don't need to be an influencer, but you do need to be visible. One of the traps of starting your personal brand is you start to focus so much on yourself. You get lost in this track of, okay, I'm going to get followers through this. How many likes am I getting? How many people are viewing my profile? What is going on here? Am I getting invited on stages? Oh my God, am I a creator now? The problem is you lose sight of what you're actually doing. The advantage is not 500 million people knowing you. You're not supposed to focus on the followers. You're supposed to focus on the right 50 people knowing what you do, because that is more valuable than 500, 5,000, or 5 million people knowing who you are, unless you're starting a business. Number 3, relationships beat applications. 1 referral equals 40 cold applications in terms of expected outcome. 85% of jobs are filled through networking, but only 7% of applicants have referrals. The game is not applications, the game is building relationship. Number 4, adaptation beats strategy. The world changes too fast to try yesterday's playbook. By the time I release this video, something else would have come up. So the playbook is to stay current, not the previous one where someone is telling you how to keep your headline on LinkedIn perfect. The skill is not following the right strategy. It's recognizing when the strategy stops working and knowing how to pivot before everyone else figures it out. After watching all of this play out for me, for people around me, and on Reddit and reading comments online, I wanted to do something about it. And I did not want to build another LinkedIn. I didn't want to build a mentorship platform. All of those things already exist. What I wanted to build was a space where people with 0 to 7 years of work experience can hang out, can treat it like Twitter, where they're talking every single day and they're sharing bits and pieces of what they're learning. And the platform will help you find people based on what you're talking about. For example, if you're going on the platform and saying, today, I went to this class, I learned this, and it was very interesting for me. Are there any campaigns that you guys can recommend that I watch? Are there any case studies that you guys think I should read? Is there anything interesting happening in the real world that I'm not aware of? When you post stuff like that, there's a feature called journaling, which helps you kind of reflect on all the things that you want to do. And it looks at the posts that you've been posting. It looks at your work experience and it says I feel like you should connect to this person because they're kind of on a similar path. And it tells you if that person is actually open to chatting or not. You don't have to. I feel like connections have to be made easier, not more difficult. That is why I'm building Yodha. With all of this being said, I totally believe in having relationships with people way ahead of you in their career. But I do believe the respect and the relationship can be built on a longer term basis when you're not immediately asking them for a job. When you start networking with people, it becomes about where are you at? How can I help you? It goes both ways. For me, what I've experienced is where I'm right now is I need a job. Can you help me or not? But then to the other person, it becomes, so you're only talking to me because you need a job. That's not really true, but right now that is what you can help me with. The only people that will understand you in that sense are people that are just a few years ahead of you because they were quite literally there yesterday. It was so fascinating to me. I have been in rooms filled with senior marketers. I've been in rooms filled with my friends and my colleagues. One of the things I really learned was how open to recommending to jobs, to telling them where job openings were with my friends. It was so different from how it was in the senior marketers room because not everybody was thinking about it. They were all like, How do I become the next senior marketer? But with peers, it's like, this person reached out to me asking for a referral. I just gave it to them. I do want to address a few things. The weight that it carries when a senior person recommends you is larger than when a peer recommends you. But the way to get to the senior person could be through a peer instead of a cold DM, because this way you're doing research of the company, of the team, through your peer, and then you can reach out to the senior person as well. As AI evolves, you've got to be very strategic, very personalized, but at the same time, not creepy, not knowing how many times their dog peed, but at the same time, be very, very aware of the conversations you're trying to have, of the goals you're trying to have, and have a presence where people can come and find you. This is literally a place where people with 0 to 7 years of experience are going to hang out. If not this platform, find something else where you can go and be a unique voice instead of trying to fill your voice in platforms that are already not focusing on you. Go to platforms that are focusing on you for where you are in your career. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have any questions, I'd absolutely be open to answering them. With that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.